So how are we doing as a province? We had approximately in 20 estimated for this year, we're expecting about 7,900 people employed in the industry. That's down slightly from last year, and most of the decrease is related to construction activities at the Voisey's Bay mine site cleaning up. Our projected gross value of shipments is 5.5 billion. That's up from last year. We collected about 137 million in mining taxes, which is about 6.6 of the provincial GDP, and about 230 million in exploration expenses. So I always like to talk to this slide. Like as an industry, it's important that we emphasize within the industry, but also publicly, about the importance that this industry has to the province. Economically, employment, it's very important. So exploration in Central. One of the downsides of me giving this talk at these types of events is there's always people talking more specifically about all the projects. So I try not to talk too much about what's going on in each individual project. There were some great talks yesterday, some further talks today, so I encourage you to listen to what those folks have to say about the things they know best. But just some general stats. About 50% of the central region, central zone, is covered by mineral claims, mineral licenses. There were about 220 million spent for exploration on the island. The majority of that is related to gold, and it's focused on central. And there's, as everyone knows, that the gold is what's really rocking in the central zone. And that's evident in the money spent, the active licenses as well. So this slide just shows gold occurrences in the central area, and as you can see, it's spread out, and there's exploration activities associated with most of these areas. Bayvert has the Maritime and their Hammerdown Gold project, as well as Point Roos. Firefly is active in exploration, as we heard yesterday. We've got Calibur's Valentine Gold Mine. They are in construction, but they're still exploring. Along the Gander River, we've got Newfound exploits. Labrador Gold, which is now Newfound. And then Canstar down around St. Albans, and Matador's project. So just some very high-level highlights, I guess, for some of these operations. You can see Beaverbrook Antimony Mine is still in care and maintenance. Firefly, as we heard yesterday, is focusing on expanding their resource. Calibre Mining, Jamie's going to talk on that a little later this morning, I think, and about 60% complete. Employment's going to be about 500 people. It's a big project for our region. Maritime Resources, I think look at some of the work they've done, trying to consolidate their activities with others. Scott Bailey with Firefly, with Newfound Gold. So they continue to try to advance their projects. Matador Gold. One of the big takeaways I took from the talk yesterday on their project was their strike length. It's like 115 kilometers for the Cape Ray project, and 27 kilometers strike length for the Hermitage. So these are really regional projects. And then Newfound Gold. I mean, we all know about Newfound Gold. Over 90% of their employees are local. 18 million spent in 2022. Another huge project that's got so much potential for this region. Now, just to talk briefly about some of the things we're trying to do to support mineral development. One of the keys to the pipeline of mine projects is exploration projects, and we feed those exploration projects with our public geoscience. So last year, the survey were active in the region. We had James Conliffe on the south coast looking at the granites, the lithium type work. Hamish was in central doing his gold work. We had airborne survey results come in, and that's the first year of a 2-year cooperation agreement with the COA to get that work done. So this year, Hamish and James are continuing their work. We've got an area identified for this year's geophysical surveys. I don't think the RFP is out for that yet, but should be shortly, as well as a scattering of work. So we're in the phase of detailed planning for this work, trying to raise helicopter, get our supports in place so that we can get out in the field and get it done. So we also support the exploration industry through our mineral incentive program. Brad's going to talk in detail about this, so I'll just try to hit a couple of real highlights, high levels. It was, as we've heard a lot over the last day, and we'll probably hear again today, it's been tough raising money. So I think it's even more crucial that we have this JEA program, and it provides that little bit of extra support to try to get projects to further their work. One of the big benefits that I see for JEA is the requirement that the support of the province be acknowledged by those companies that are getting grants. This gets the word out to the world, really, that the province is supportive of the industry, and that it's a great place to come and explore. So I think that's a key to our program as well. So our funding has changed a little bit over the last couple of years to the good. Back in 22-23, it was a $1.7 million program. Through work of Keith Bradbury and Brad and Mineral Development, we were able to get the COA to come on board for a 3-year program to support critical minerals specifically. So that was an additional $1.3 million in this past year. Brad will talk a bit about how that played out. And then for the coming year, with the critical minerals plan, the province has thrown in another $1.3 million to support critical minerals specific exploration. So prospector assistance, I guess generally it's been pretty steady over the last few years with a slight decline this year. We're hoping that the prospector training course, which I'm going to touch briefly on shortly, will infuse some more prospectors into the community who might come looking for more support, so we can support them as they start their careers, their hobbies, as they're looking for the next big find. The training course, again, Keith Bradbury and Brad Way, and in cooperation with the Newfoundland Labrador Prospectors Association, worked with the College of North Atlantic to try to set up a combined virtual in-person prospectors training course with most of the technical training done virtually, and at the end there's a field component where skills can be demonstrated and verified for sampling. So our first pilot of that, or the college's first pilot, had 57 students. Out of it, there's a capacity to support 60. So we're very pleased with the interest thus far. The first field components will be this June with graduates happening shortly thereafter. Regulatory improvements. Been talking about it for a couple of years, and we're continuing to work this. We had public consultations in 2022, including a specific industry session to talk and hear what concerns, changes might be needed in the Mineral Act and the Mining Act. We did publish a what we heard document, and we've over the last month or so have reinvigorated that internally with the department, and have had a couple of workshops with staff on the Mineral Act and the Mining Act changes. So we continue to work that. We did identify several amendments that were crucial and time sensitive, so we advanced those in the fall session of the House in November. And again, overall review is ongoing with that. So just some of the General topics where we heard feedback, claim staking. The main issue we've heard there was around canceled licenses. Sometimes they're canceled because a deadline is missed or an oversight by the license holder, simple payment of a renewal fee that was missed. So we heard that was a major issue that we addressed last fall. We talked a bit about claim staking and what the fees and security deposits should be going forward. Again, assessment rate requirements, trying to hear from the industry what we can do to make it easier reporting wise, but at the same time, keep the feet to the fire so that properties are advanced and licenses aren't just held indefinitely without work. And then some general talk about mineral license timeframes. There used to be a maximum life of a mineral license that really affected investment as you got close to the end of the mineral license. So we heard about that concern. The Mining Act, financial assurance was discussed, and the general consensus was that what we have in place is fairly robust and appropriate. One issue that we're struggling with is the issue of dams and long-term maintenance, and how do we ensure that the responsibility for that work doesn't end up on the taxpayer to maintain. So there's some good discussions on that, and we're happy to hear input going forward as well. We talked about prudent resource management, and that's just a statement in the Mining Act. It requires that development be done in accordance with prudent resource management principles. No definition of what that means, but our interpretation has to do with the resource, the work you do to identify your resource, so your technical reporting, your feasibility studies and such. There's requirements out there in the stock exchanges for standards for those reporting, but some properties are privately held and aren't with stock exchanges. So we just want to make sure that we have similar requirements for those type properties as well. So as I mentioned, we did advance amendments to the Mineral Act and to the mineral regulations to deal with those issues that we saw as crucial. One of them was the personal allowance for working your own property. The Prospectors Association were diligent in their request that be increased, and there was a general consensus that would be appropriate. So we did get that through in the fall as well. As well as this work that we're doing on the Mineral Act, Kevin's shop also advanced a brand new Quarry Resources Act to replace the Quarry Materials Act. So that was passed in the fall. It's not yet in effect because we continue to develop regulations and policy that would go in behind that act. But couple of big pieces of policy work being done by the Mineral Land section there. Now the Critical Minerals Plan. When we were discussing whether we should prepare a specific plan focused on critical minerals to try to take advantage of the current window of opportunity that we have, we talked about what that would mean for those minerals that aren't critical, aren't deemed critical, gold, for instance. And I think we landed on the idea that many of the activities that we've identified in our critical minerals plan would also support mineral exploration in general. The theory of the rising tide floats all boats. So while gold and such are not included in the critical minerals plan, they're not forgotten. And just, the activity here and the work being done is crucial to the province and with that commodity. So the plan set out criteria that was used to determine what the critical minerals would be for the province. Basically, we looked at whether we had potential for the mineral and whether any of our, whether Canada or other jurisdictions had critical minerals listed that we could help support as an opportunity for the province. So that resulted in 34 critical minerals being identified. We also focused not only on the opportunity for mines, but the potential for downstream benefits for the processing. That's one of our key criteria in the plan as well. One thing of note is we did, in the theme of opportunity and in the theme of potential climate action, we did identify high-grade, low-impurity iron ore as critical for the province. Not really, it is, because it's good for the province, it's good for Central, but the reason we designated the high-grade, low-impurity iron ore is its potential to feed the green steel and its requirement for production of green steel and downstream carbon reduction. So that's a huge opportunity for the province that we're pursuing. Just a quick graphic to show the critical minerals that are present in the central area. Lithium is hot right now for sure. Copper is always important. But there's also antimony, barium, chrome, copper, lead, magnesium, molybdenum, nickel, tungsten, uranium, and zinc. So there's opportunities in Central for this as well. The plan is set up with 3 pillars: unlocking our potential, maximizing the value, supporting project development. Under unlocking our potential, we've got to expand and promote geoscience actions to do that. We've got actions for prospecting and exploration, as well as investment attraction and promotion. For maximizing the value of our critical mineral potential, we've got a series of actions on supply chain opportunities, on innovation, research and development, and on access to a skilled workforce. Like, those are great examples of where the actions in the critical minerals plan supports the whole mineral exploration industry, not just critical minerals. And then support project development. We also want to enhance our regulatory framework actions. So that's related to the Mining Act, the Mineral Act, and such. And then strategic infrastructure. So how can we engage with, for instance, the federal government to help advance infrastructure needs of the province that might benefit the mining industry? So that's it. Appreciate your attention, and it was good to see the crowd grow as the talk progressed. My contact details are there. I answer my own phone, so if you have any issues, if there's anything you'd like to discuss or bring forward, I'm available most times. So I'd encourage you to reach out, and I'll be around all day today, so happy to have discussions as well. Thank you very much.